can survive all of the entrepreneurial months that you are going to have to carry if you're going to bring your dreams to life in a way that is going to be healthy for you, your family, and your loved ones. Don't fall in love with your idea, run off and spend a ton of money getting it patented before you validate your idea. Hearing back, having someone tell you to their face they like it, they love it, they hate it, too expensive, not too expensive, or this is what I want, and then delivering on your promises is really important.
And that's next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. So, the big question is this: how are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough, use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams? Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. If you like this video, do not forget to hit that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, go ahead and hit the thumbs down button and give us your feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tetranoodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. Today I will be talking with Cydney Mar. Cydney is a multi-talented woman who has overcome many life-challenging obstacles in her life. One of them was actually a near-death obstacle, and she has not only survived but also thrived in her career in spite of all the hardships that came along the way. So right now she's a fashion designer, product development strategist, wellness enthusiast, and a former professional athlete. So let's welcome Cydney. Cydney, we are excited to have you and learn about your story.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you this afternoon, Manuj. It's so interesting, the entrepreneurial journey that we all have and the passions that we chase through our life. And I really was excited to have the opportunity to share some of my highlights and some of the challenges that I faced along the way and still being able to accomplish many of my dreams.
That's awesome. That's exactly what we are all about here on this podcast. So let's dive in and let's get to know you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, how you got started, and what are some of the challenges you faced along the way?
Yes, well, I actually was born and raised in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm a good old Canadian, and I was a young athlete. So I was an elite athlete from the age of 6 as a competitive figure skater, and I really loved it. Honestly, Manuj, I thought that skating, and I still do, I still think that being on the ice is more natural than walking.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I saw snow for the first time when I was 22 years of age. I actually live in Vancouver as well, so that's great. It's a great city. And I grew up in India. Obviously, in India, we never had snow or ice or anything like that. And I learned skating, and it was quite thrilling, actually. It was hard to learn at that age, but I did learn it, and I do enjoy it. So I know what you mean. And to your point, it's wonderful that you found your passion. Because once you find exactly what you love, it's very easy to devote yourself and bring the best out of yourself, isn't it?
Yes, I didn't mind getting up at 4:30 in the morning. Everything was a little bit like a military operation, even though I was a child. 15 minutes to get up and to wash up. I have 15 minutes for my breakfast, 15 minutes to make sure that I had my skates and someone was going to be picking me up. So, we not only had to skate and do everything, but as most of the kids, we were challenged by our parents to make sure that we kept up our grades. So then we went to school, then someone would pick us up at the end of the day, and we would go to back to the rink
Mhm.
So it was really a life passion of mine. I thought that I was going to skate until the end of time because it was where I was happiest. And
Yeah.
when I was training for one of the major competitions, I was on North Shore Winter Club's ice, and they had put too
Mhm.
many kids on at the same time. And I had a very bad skating accident. One of the other skaters smashed into me and almost severed my leg.
Wow. Yeah. So that's what I was going to talk about. So walk us through that journey, if it's not too painful. I know these are hard memories, but whatever you can share, please do let us know, like how it happened. How did you get through that challenge?
Well, that's a great question. And I would like to share that because when you are so set on this is the only thing I'm going to do, this is the thing that I love the most, and this is what my life is going to be. And when you feel that it's taken away from you,
Hmm.
there's quite a bit of a healing process that has to happen. And I was lucky. My doctor was a sports medicine doctor, and he went to the government and put together a team of doctors from the US and did the first micronerve surgery on my leg. And in Canada, they made teaching tapes for the rest of the universities. And I was given the ability to have my leg back because there was a very, very good chance they would have had to amputate it. And
Wow.
during the long process of healing, which was about a year and a half, learning how to walk again, I went back to school. And I went back to school for fashion because as a young skater, because I was very much in the Karen Magnuson and Taller Cranston era, we were very expressive. We had programs where we not only were athletic, but we wanted to as sort of performers wanted to express. Was it happy? Was it sad? Was it whatever? And I also designed all of my own costumes. And
Nice, nice.
so it was a natural ability to be able to take that. And you tell an overactive 18-year-old to sit there and do nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I took all of my energy and I put it into my fashion career. And because I was lucky, my skating coach had really taught us not how to be a competitive figure skater, but really taught us life lessons on how to accomplish things. So I was able to take my discipline, my manner of learning, and apply that to fashion.
Nice,
And that
nice.
is really what made the big difference on being able to jumpstart my career in fashion. And I didn't have to start back at the beginning. I didn't have to go back as if I was 6 years old again. I was able to start from where I was and to
Yeah.
springboard forward into what became a really fabulous fashion career for over 30 years.
Nice. That's a very inspirational story. Now, here I would love to get into your mindset and see how an 18-year-old girl, sort of, who went through this trauma, can keep a positive mindset and sort of continue to go. Not only that, but also look at an inventory of skills that you gathered over time, and then said to yourself that, hey, I need to move on with my life and utilize these skills. So how did you go through that period and sort of talk yourself through this hard time?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. First of all, what many athletes have to deal with in terms of mindset, being dedicated, knowing that it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it matters how many times you get up. And I
Yeah.
remember challenging one of my skating coaches one day because I was frustrated. And I said,
Mhm.
how many times do I have to do that to get it done? And he kind of looked at me a little bit like I was a crazy person and said,
Mhm.
well, until you do it.
Mhm.
And it wasn't about how many times you fell or how many times, it was just do it. So I then went and skated, did another turn, and I landed my double axel, and he was like, so there you go.
Yeah.
So I think that having the disciplines behind me, learning how to organize myself, be disciplined, how to apply myself, really, it wasn't about learning how to skate or how to be a fashion designer. It was about I already knew how to work.
Yeah, yeah, that's very well said. And what about those fears? Like, you said that you had a fear that maybe, the doctors would have had to amputate you. Like, did that cross your mind? Did that sort of affect your psyche at all?
Absolutely. I mean, I had great friends. I mean, my skater friends would say, "Hey, come on, we're going to go out dancing," and would go, pick me up. And even though I couldn't always, I always could walk, but because my right leg was very weak, or shall we say, I couldn't depend on it because there was nerve damage. So if I hit a pebble, I would be flat on my behind. I would fall down, and they would just pick me up, and, or we'd be at a nightclub and dancing. And if I was wobbly, they just pick me up. And so you just learn along the way. And I realized that as a new fashion designer, that even though I had to go to events or what have you, and I had learned to walk again, and it was really about applying my creativity. And I did have a passion. I kind of fell in love with fashion all over again, and was really, I feel really blessed that I was able to transfer and apply all of my energy, my youthful energy, from skating into fashion.
That's amazing. All right. And then after your recovery, did you ever think about going back to skating?
I did. I was actually hoping that after my skating accident that I was going to go back to not only get back on the ice, but to compete again. And because my leg wasn't coming back as fast as I wanted it to, because when there is nerve damage, what most people may or may not know is that the skin of the nerve is called the myelin sheath. And when there's damage, it grows back at 1 millimeter a day. So that meant it had to grow back from the top of my thigh all the way to the bottom of my foot. So we already knew it was going to be at least 1.5 years before we would know if the operation was a success.
I see.
And during that time, because I was in my head, I'm going back to the ice, right? I was training and working out and doing everything I could, making sure that I was well nourished. And one of the young skaters, all my other friends, I don't think they had the courage to say anything to me. And one young skater, his name was Dennis Coy, he said to me, "Sid," he said, "you're just going to have to," he said, "you're never going to compete again." And he's the only one. And maybe because he was young and precocious or what have you, he's the only one who could say that truth to my face. And I was so angry at him because I wasn't ready to let it go. But it was thing that made me realize, okay, now it's time to move on. So he really made me a gift when he said that to me.
Yeah. Sometimes these bad news or bitter words are, they don't really land that well in the moment, but later in your life you realize that was something doing a favor for you. So I've had similar experiences in my life.
Well, and I think that, sometimes life has, or God or a source or the universe or, whatever your word is for it, really has a bigger plan in mind. And sometimes when tragedy or challenges happen, I think that, let's say as they say, when it rains and maybe there's clouds, maybe there's a silver lining.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Sometimes leaning into it shows you what the gift is. And sometimes it takes time for the gift to show its face or to become evident, and maybe maybe thank goodness that my recovery time was at least 1.5 years for me to process it, to heal myself, to be able to have the courage to look for the gift.
Yeah. And one thing you pointed out, which resonated with me very well, is like, sometimes things don't work out because, eventually there's a bigger plan out there for you. Because I've realized, when I lose opportunities, I used to get upset. And then slowly I realized, hey, if I did not lose that opportunity, I wouldn't have looked for the bigger opportunity that came along right after that.
Exactly. There's been some really interesting, how can I say it, learnings. And I've learned to take a step back. When things happen, instead of being reactive, as you just said, sometimes I think, oh, okay, where's the gift? Like, or why, how to turn a disappointment into allowing for maybe something bigger that is supposed to come along. Because can you imagine, I was in skating, as I said, it's a different type of world. I did it for 12 years, thought I was going to do it till, the end of my life. And then that spawned a fashion career, a very successful one of 36 years.
Yeah, for sure. So you had a goal for representing Canada in the Olympics, right? So
yes,
tell us about that.
Well, when I was 13, the Japanese government came and approached my family, and because they didn't have any strong female skaters at the time. I happened to be of Chinese origin, but they were looking for like an Asian face, a strong female Asian skater. So they offered me a dual citizenship to skate for Japan with one of their Japanese skaters. And and they wanted to train me for the Olympics. So they would have, also, can you imagine my poor parents, the government was offering to pay for everything and to give me the dual citizenship, etc. They did give me the choice to say yes or no all by myself. But skating, even today, even more today, is quite expensive, So my parents were probably thinking, oh, goodness, we don't have to pay for this anymore, And I did refuse, not because I didn't want to go to the Olympics, but because I felt that that my talents were better expressed as a single skater, not as a pair or a dance partner. And I was supposed to go international in my 18th year. Not only did the CFSA think I was going to win the championship, the Canadian championship that year, I was supposed to go international, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice. And then you turned into fashion, and then not only that, you started your own business. So tell us a little bit about that journey. Like, did you have any early challenges, or was it a fairly smooth sailing from there onwards?
Not at all. I won awards in New York, so I was able to come home with those accolades. Dad had said to me, "Okay, so now what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I guess I'll start my own collection." And he gave me a little bit of money, wasn't very much, but gave me some money to start my first collection. And we decided to convert my family basement into a studio. So we painted it, and I helped them build subfloors and put racking in. And it was a time when they had boat people. So we did worked with the government to employ some people and to help me with the sewing. So I had a tiny little studio. I put the collection together. I ended up selling all over the country, to Holt Renfrew, to the Bay, to Eaton's, and it was really fabulous. I had big runway shows, and then I was a bit discouraged about starting in couture, and there was more, because the garments are expensive, beautiful, fabulous, fun to do, but when only the upper echelon can wear them or can afford them, I wanted to reach out to more ladies. I wanted there to be what I call an everyday fabulous. And that was really why I segued into working with some of the bigger manufacturers. I wanted to learn, how do you make something at a good price and make 10,000 of them? There has to be a system. Yeah. So not only had I sort of honed my skills as a designer, I wanted to know, how do you work with a manufacturing facility like that? And then I started working for bigger and bigger companies, and then QVC came calling, and I started designing and selling my own fashions and selling them all over the world through TV shopping channel, which was really super fun because it's very interactive. The ladies get on the phone with you and, "Hi, Cydney, can I talk to you?" And you get to describe how your garments are and dress the models, and it's a lot of fun. So that was really how I went, sort of my pathway in fashion.
Cool. And that's an amazing story. You achieved a lot of success, so congratulations on that. But let's go back a little bit, and then if you remember, how did you get your first few clients? How did you make your first few sales? Because that is always the toughest, when you're starting off and trying to make a name for yourself.
Yes. Well, I had designed a small collection. It might have been 20 pieces or something like that. And some of the gals at the Vancouver Show Mart had helped me, figure out how to do what they call the pricing sheets, etc. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go and call up all of the stores that I think my products look appropriate in and make an appointment. And that's what I did. I put, my clothing, in the car, had a little purchase order book and jumped in my car and went to see Holt Renfrew. I went to see, there was a store called Where Else on 4th Avenue. I might still exist. It's owned by Tom and Molly. Margaritas carried my things. And I stood in front of those buyers and I showed them, product in the back warehouse and they loved it. So they bought it. So I think that, being right in the trenches, hearing back, having someone tell you to their face, they like it, they love it, they hate it, too expensive, not too expensive, or this is what I want, and then delivering on your promises is really important. It's really important not just to have fabulous ideas, but to validate them. And that was really my, in today's business world, I always say, what's your POC? What's your proof of concept? My proof of concept as a young person opening up a new company, seeing if people liked my fashions, was to make the collection, go out there and stand in front of the buyer and say, do you like it? Do you want it? Do you want to buy it? And they did.
Awesome. That's great advice. Yeah. I mean, we also emphasize, not only for your industry, but for, I focus on software and IT, and I always tell any founders and anybody working on a project, make sure you get your ideas validated and prototype them, and don't spend too much time or resources until somebody says, yes, this is exactly what I want. And more importantly, I'll pay for this product, right? Because a lot of people, they say, yeah, I like it, but I don't want to pay for it.
Yes. And I find that, because I also work as a consultant for helping, my product development strategy work is really helping people. You work on the IT side. I work on like physical products. Is it a fashion, jewelry, because people fall in love with their ideas. And it's not, we shouldn't fall in love with our ideas, but, where I caution people sometimes is, don't fall in love with your idea, run off and spend a ton of money getting it patented before you validate your idea.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So let's talk about that aspect of your career as well. How did you turn towards wellness enthusiasm and product development strategy?
I think, Manuj, that I use near-death experiences as my segue to change careers. So from my dating, I kind of I wasn't going to quit, so life made a change for me. Went into fashion with my near-death experience. And then I had this fabulous career in fashion, and I really wasn't going to give it up either. And when I was 54, because I am a tender 60 now,
wow.
I know, but I have vitamins for that, right? So what happened was, as a business owner, I had many contracts around the world to do my TV shopping channel presentations, and you are required to show up live for the presentations. And what happened was I got sick at 54. I caught nothing more exciting than mono, and it crashed my immune system. So I was like flat. It was like I was imprisoned in the hospital for 2 months. And the result of it, because I had such a bad inflammation in my body, was I lost almost all of my hair.
Wow.
When that happened, and I'm thinking, I'm getting better, and I opened QVC Italia from my hospital bed because they wouldn't allow me to delay the launch. So I had to make arrangements with the hospital to call in, because they wouldn't allow me to use my mobile. They wanted me to use a landline. So it was really, it was a little bit crazy, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
When I needed to go back to start traveling, and my hair was falling out, I didn't want to take more pharma meds. I didn't want, I just felt that I'd been too beaten up by, unnatural chemical products, even though that I suppose it saved my life. I wanted to heal naturally. And so my naturopath felt sorry for me, and he created the formula, which became my hero item in my vitamins and supplement, which is called Fabulous Hair, Skin, and Nails. And that's why, at the tender age of 60, actually in August, I'm going to be 61, why I have beautiful skin, beautiful nails, and beautiful hair for a lady of my age. And I thought, when he made that product and I realized, wow, if it's really working that well for me, I need to share this with the world. But the world of ingestibles is very different than fashions. And there's a lot more responsibility. There's product liabilities. There's health site licenses. There's NPNs and all of that. So, I've only launched it about 3 years ago. So I sell in about 10 different countries around the world. I've learned how I should interact, not interact, things you can say, things you can't say. So it's really a passion project for me. And then I thought I was just going to do that and then, go off into the wild blue yonder. But then people kept coming back to me because I wound down my fashion company.
I see.
And they said, Cydney, can you help me with my fashion collection? Cydney, can you help me with jewelry? Oh, I have a business idea for this. And so I have kind of a long career or a long, I guess, CV on things I've done or whatever. So I said, oh, okay. I'm just going to build a website for telling people what I do. And this is how I can possibly help them. And that's how I became like a business and product development coach for people who have great ideas, but maybe don't know where to start, maybe haven't had the experience of how to cost something, what kind of factories, how to do a factory spec, logistics, what's a landed duty paid, all of those things that make people's brains go to mush.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been really fascinating how I can share my knowledge with people and hopefully help them build a business that is sustainable, that is sensible, help them not make big mistakes or waste time, to get them to an understanding of what a bank is going to look for, help them to come to an understanding of what, if they go to a retailer, what kind of presentation is necessary. I'm working with Cirque du Soleil. I did huge projects with them many years ago. And so, there's some licensing things that I can help some of my clients with. There are, I'm in discussion with some of the TV shopping channels. So it's really a nice synergy of information and experience that I can share with people who have really great ideas, but really don't know how to make even their first sample, maybe.
Yeah. That's so true. Like a lot of people have a lot of ambition, but I completely agree with you. If they try to do it on their own, it may take them longer, with a lot more mistakes, a lot more investment. And if they hire somebody like you who have gone through this, it's the chances of success are exponentially higher, right?
Yes, it's very funny because even though I'm super creative, I'm very practical. And that's what one of my clients was telling me this afternoon. He says, oh, you're all about deliverables and you do this week and that next week. And then we do this and this is the schedule and we have to stay on this. And, Manuj, if you and I went for coffee, we'd probably hear someone at the next couple of tables saying, oh, I have an idea for this. And, I've been thinking about, or my kid had a backpack and it needs to be improved. There are tons of people with really great ideas, which are kind of like the next Q-tip or the next toilet paper and things that really should come to life, but they just don't know where to go because it's something that they talk to their girlfriends or friends about at coffee shops. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And then I really find that a lot of people sort of, talk about these ideas, but they don't really take action. And one aspect of that could be, lack of resources. But I think a big aspect is lack of knowledge and experience. So, helping those people out to get their ideas out there is not only serving the people who came up with the idea, but humanity at large, because, now people can actually enjoy and use these products and improve their lives.
Well, and I think that this is my opinion, but I think that we all come here on earth with divine gifts. We come here with specific talents or things we're supposed to do. So I think it's I guess it's my personal for me. I don't want to go stand up I don't want to go to the pearly gates and say, you know what, I came with my gifts and I didn't develop them.
Yeah.
So I think that in service, if I can help people bring their ideas to life and really live their divine purpose, then that's part of my legacy.
Awesome. That's great. And so over the years, you've worked with so many of your own products and helping others. What are some of the common traits that you've found which are, project success of a product in the future?
Oh, goodness. What projects the success of a project in the future? Goodness. Well, when I'm first working with a client, I always try to figure out where is the idea, what started the idea. And there was for instance, because that I believe that it's not just about features and benefits. It's about what was that inspirational moment and what was the aha moment that the idea sprung from. Like for me with my hair product, it was like, oh my goodness, it's natural, it's healthy for me, it's growing my hair back and it works. That was where that sort of springboarded for me to develop Cydney Mar Wellness. Someone else came to me with an idea and he was like, well, I was in, university and in one of my tech classes, and I was looking at how all how you look down the theater seats and all the computers, and he was watching all of his, I guess students, not his students, but his the student body shopping online, and so he had an epiphany about how to make the shopping experience easier, better, faster, how to improve it.
Nice.
And so I always want to know first, where did the idea come from? And then because it kind of, that story is how it links back. It's kind of like part of the thread, and that makes it make sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The backstory is as important as anything, because I think that's what connects you to your prospect clients in the future, because they can see themselves in your story. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that this is what when people are out there in the world and they're experiencing or they're seeing that something that they created, for instance, I have someone else who's creating teas. And for her, the whole ritual of tea isn't just about the tea, even though she's very studied, she knows about what she calls the agony of the tea, where, the tea is, and when the water is at a particular temperature and it kind of, the leaf unfolds. And she talks about how it's really aspirational and the experience that someone can have. So from that idea, she wants to develop retreats around the experience of actually the ritual of tea.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom and your story, most importantly. Now, before I let you go, is there anything that you may want to add that I haven't asked and that you want to share with the audience today?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I think that if someone wants to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to share a short personal story, because as you know, I talk to a lot of different people who want to be entrepreneurs, and that is, we're talking about bootstrapping. And one of my potential new clients and I were talking about, the fact that she wants to leave corporate. Has a great idea and is thinking about, the launch and all of that. And when I looked at her time, how many months it would take for her to launch the product, how many months she would have to carry her family home, like she has a husband, but how much do they have to pay? And as your wonderful podcast here is called Bootstrapping, it was really a point of bootstrapping. And I said, okay, how much are you spending a month? And she knew the number, but then she couldn't tell me how much she was netting.
Mm.
She couldn't tell me. And then she was very reactive. It was so like, well, I don't want to eat ramen. I said, well, people who are eating, like the packaged noodles are actually people who are, at like say 1,500, they're just hardly keeping the roof over their head. Like that's a big stretch from the $17,000 you're already spending a month.
Yeah.
So the talking about bootstrapping for all of the beautiful entrepreneurs out there who have these great ideas that they want to bring, I think is to first look at their personal budgets and what they can do to put it into a healthy, manageable budget. Because like, for instance, if I did QVC and I used to, I'm going to say spoil myself with $50 mascara, guess what? The truth is I can find a $10 mascara and I'm not shortchanging myself. I just put the attention to it. So bootstrapping and being an entrepreneur means you have to tighten up your belt in a healthy way that you're comfortable with. Like, for instance, I still go to my gym and all of that, but there are things that you can live with and things that you don't, so that you can survive all of the entrepreneurial months that you are going to have to carry if you're going to bring your dreams to life in a way that is going to be healthy for you, your family, and your loved ones.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. Like, being an entrepreneur is not just about executing what you know, but you also have to pick up a lot of skills, like you just mentioned. You need to be good with numbers. You need to be good with marketing. I mean, you don't have to do all these things, but you at least need to pay attention to them and make sure that if you're hiring somebody or if you're working with somebody else, they are doing a good job.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Cydney. Now, before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you and, maybe consult with you and hire you for your services?
Yes, absolutely. Well, as we met on LinkedIn, I am on LinkedIn under my name, which is Cydney Mar, and I can also be found on Facebook. I have my Cydney Mar Wellness and my Cydney Mar Design pages, so easy to find me. My two websites are exactly the same, cydneymarwellness.com and cydneymar.com. And the reason, it's funny, the reason I left them all under my name is because QVC spent so much time and money on investing in the SEO under my name. It was just, there was no way for me to hide my fashion background. So everything comes up, then I would be delighted to see people, if they want to improve their health, to reach out to me. If they have a product idea that they'd like to talk to me about, I do offer a complimentary discovery call to help them look at the feasibility and whether or not they're making something that can possibly be validated and make them a wonderful business idea that can be developed. So I do encourage people to take a peek and see if I can be of service.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks a lot again for sharing your story and being with us today. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And that's all for now. Until next time. And if you're an existing or an aspiring tech entrepreneur, then I invite you to check out my new online workshop, Bootstrapping Your Tech Startup Dreams. Go to bootstraptechstartup.com and sign up for free. I want to make sure that more successful and sound decisions are made every day in your tech projects. Let's start finding solutions to your problems. So go to bootstraptechstartup.com and I look forward to helping you with your tech projects. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.